Atma Namaste and welcome everyone to another soulful session. Today the topic is dealing with negative patterns. And as usual, we will start with an invocation and then we will begin the session. My voice is echoing. Okay, now it's fine. And please unmute yourselves. Yep. Okay, now it's okay. So let's start with a short invocation. Please close your eyes. Inhale and exhale slowly and deeply. Relax your body. Calm your mind and calm your emotions. Be aware of your whole body. And if you feel any pain or discomfort at any area of your body, bring your awareness to that area and mentally say, I let go. I am not the body. The body is just a vehicle of the soul. I am the soul. I am that I am. Visualize your whole body disintegrate and disappear. All the pain and discomfort disintegrate and disappear. All the cells and organs in your body disintegrates and disappear. What remains is just brilliant white light. Inhale slowly and deeply. Exhale slowly and deeply. Now bring your awareness to your thoughts and your emotions. Just observe each and every thought that comes to your mind and fades away. Mentally say, I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions. Thoughts and emotions are just products of the soul. I am the soul. I am that I am. Visualize all your thoughts and emotions disintegrate and disappear. All your fears, worries, frustrations disintegrate and disappear. And what remains is just brilliant white light. Inhale slowly and deeply. Exhale slowly and deeply. Now please bring your awareness higher to your crown chakra and mentally say to the Supreme Being, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to our spiritual teacher, to Master Choakoksui, to Lord Mahaguruji Mailing, to all the great ones, all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, and spiritual helpers. Thank you for all of your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, and divine power, divine guidance, help and protection, inner healing and physical healing, good health and happiness, prosperity and abundance, spirituality and illumination. Thank you in full faith. Inhale slowly, inhale all the blessings. Exhale slowly and be aware of your whole body. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Inhale slowly, inhale all the blessings. And exhale slowly. Now please put your two hands in a namaste position in front of your heart. Be aware of the presence of each and every person in this session and mentally say, Namaste, thank you for being here. And when you are comfortable, gently open your eyes with a big smile. So Atma Namaste and welcome everyone to another soulful session. Today we will be talking about dealing with negative patterns, and to understand what we mean by it, I ask Arko to give us an introduction. What are these negative patterns and where do they, what are these?
Thank you, Hengame. Atma Namaste, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. Have you ever been in a situation in life where you think you've overcome a certain milestone, a certain obstacle, and then after some time, you're feeling good about it, but then something gets triggered and you go back right where you came from? For example, you may have family members who really upset you. Could be by their attitude, could be by their beliefs, could be by the way they interact with you, all these kinds of things. And then suddenly what happens is that you become so upset, so angry that you can't think logically. Okay? You take your frustration out on other people. You shout at your close family members, other family members. You take your frustration out and get into a fight with a wall, and the wall wins because obviously. Some of us are going through these patterns right now, as we're saying in the chat. And the question is, if we are on the spiritual path and we are really, working on purification, if you're working on removing our inner obstacles, why do these patterns come back? Why are they repeating over and over again? So show of hands, if you're going through a situation in your life, could be with your work, could be with your relationships, could be with your parents, could be with your siblings, could be with your colleagues, anyone. Someone triggers you and you go back to 10 years ago and you're that defenseless, irritated, unhappy person all over again. Or maybe you're an older person and you've gone back to your school's 30th reunion and you meet someone, you meet your school bully from when you were a small thing, and now that person comes back and all of a sudden you're a defenseless person all over again. And you could be facing this with repeating health issues also, financial issues also. So yes, if you are going through these things, the question is, why? So in this session, we are going to be talking a little bit about why this is happening, how you can build your awareness, how you can identify the lessons, and using the laws and rules of pranic healing, the laws of character building and virtue practice. And then hopefully we'll be able to give something to you as a takeaway where you can not just identify, but then overcome it. So as Master Choa Sui says, and as we officially kick off the sessions, isn't it time to change? The same old patterns repeat and recur for weeks, months, and years. So we're going to take this commitment from you. If you are ready to change, as Tony Robbins says, say I. And then he says, say it louder, say I. Or, well, since I'm not Tony Robbins, I'm just imitating him, please say yes in the chat. That'd probably be better. So if you're ready to make a commitment and change whatever old garbage you have in you, write yes in the chat so we know you're making that change. If you're here to make that commitment, go on, put it out there. The more you make that change, the more you are say, yes, I'm going to change. Enough of the old me, enough of the victim. I am the soul and I'm here to take charge of my life. Yeah, put it out there. All right, now that we have your commitment, Hengame, let's take this forward.
Okay, fantastic. Actually, there is energy in putting yes. So when you actually put yes in the chat, you are affirming to yourself that, yes, this time I'm really going to make change. So there is energy with that. Now, what are these repeated patterns? Before we talk about how we can stop them, how we can change the pattern, we need to understand what are these patterns? Where do they come from? Now, to understand that, first we need to understand how life works, why we are here. And we have discussed this in many sessions, that we are here for evolution, okay? Now, life on Earth and this journey of evolution is like school, okay? Now, how does it work? So you go through 1 year of learning and studying and so on. What happens at the end of the year? There will be exam, sometimes midterm exam also, and then final exams. So some of us, we have studied, we have used intelligence, awareness, different techniques. Therefore, we are able to pass the exam. Okay, maybe sometimes not so good. We don't do good in the midterm, but we learn from it and then we do very good for the final. So we pass that year, we go 1 year later forward. And sometimes we fail. Now, if you are in a school and you fail 1 year, what do? You have to repeat. So life on Earth works like that. When we go through challenges now, and if you really look and if you're really aware, you may notice that some of these lessons initially come as a whisper, not really a challenge. For example, you're about to do something wrong and your conscious says, don't do it, or something in your head, a message, a voice in your head says, don't do it, this is wrong. Okay, so sometimes we follow, sometimes we don't, so we do something. Next time, another message comes, but this time a bit stronger, because apparently we were not so aware and we were not so responsive to the whisper of the higher soul. So higher soul and the whole universe need to make it a bit stronger so that we can see what we are doing is wrong and we learn the lesson. So next time we may see someone, or we may read a book, or we may see a movie where the person is dealing with the same challenge, and then when they do something wrong, what happens to them, and so on. Because there is a possibility to learn by reading from other people's lives, but also observing other people, or sometimes even from movies. Now, again, if we get the message, if we get the lesson, we pass. If we don't, what if you are the universe, if you are divine, if you are God, what do? You think and say, okay, this guy is not really responsive with this, so I have to make it clearer. So what happens? A stronger challenge. And so it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and repeats again and again and again, and each time even worse than before sometimes, so that finally you sit and say, okay, I'm tired of this. Why this pattern is repeating? What should I change? And when you start asking yourself this question, and when you start thinking about the lessons you need to learn, the challenge, and what you are doing wrong, you learn. Now, if we don't, it keeps coming. But the good news is, the moment you learn the lesson, it stops. So these patterns are basically connected with the law of karma, connected with the law of evolution. And as we have heard this over and over again from Master Choa Shui's teachings, karma is not fatalistic. Karma is evolutionary in process. And karma is there to teach us lessons. It's not to punish us. So the good news is, the moment we learn what is wrong, the moment we learn what lesson we need to learn, and the moment we start making changes, because just knowing is not enough. As Master says, we need to know, we need to understand, we need to remember, we need to practice until we master. So just knowing what lesson we need to learn is not enough. Once we know, then we have to put it into practice. And the moment we put it into practice, that pattern will stop, because it means we have already learned what we're supposed to. And therefore we can move to the next lesson. Okay, and there is no stop. So sometimes when a person comes to spiritual path, they expect that all these challenges, all these problems in life to stop. And sometimes we have seen that when it's not, they get angry with the divine, with God, with the techniques, that why the challenges doesn't stop. Now, the challenges will not stop unless we are already perfect, okay? Because that is a way to learn. But the good news is, if we are in the spiritual path, if we know the techniques, if we make use of pranic healing techniques, we can easily learn and move on. We don't need to suffer, okay? As again, Master says, you can learn through life, you can learn through your spiritual teacher. And guess which one, and you have a choice to choose, but think about it, which one is kinder? Usually when we learn from life, the lessons are, so the patterns has to repeat again and again and again, and sometimes it's very tough. But when we follow the footsteps of the teacher, when we follow the simple instructions, we can learn much, much easier, and we don't have to suffer, and we have a choice. Okay, so in this session, we are going to talk about how to know which pattern. So when a certain pattern happens, how to know what is the lesson connected with it. And we are so lucky that we have the teachings of pranic healing, and we can make use of them to understand what we need to learn in a bigger scale, as a category. So we will talk about it. But before, we talk about what lesson we need to learn. We also need to have awareness, because sometimes these challenges, these patterns keep repeating. And if we are not aware of them, we just suffer and we don't know the repetition, we don't know the pattern, we don't know why it is coming, and we don't know what to do. So that awareness is super important. And what do you think, Arko?
Well,
how can we increase our awareness, and
well, the way you
is it
see that owl on the
important?
screen, the way you see that owl on the screen, it can either look like it's super focused, aware of everything that's happening, or it's just being told that it's an owl and it's completely in shock. Like, I'm an owl? How did that happen? So most of us, we go through our life kind of the same way. If you look at, so one of the statements which you mentioned a little while back is that, is it easier to learn from the teacher or is it easier to learn from life? Life is not an easy teacher. It's going to give you the exam first, and then the lesson will follow. In school, we at least have it easier the other way around. You're put through workshops and classes, and then you're tested. Life is just the other way around. So one of the beauties about, say, the pranic healing system, which I did not realize early on, and I realized only a little later, is that Master Choa, in his wisdom, he put forward the importance of the recommended reading books, and he put them in a certain order, so that when we have questions in our life, in our spiritual journey, we can refer to the learnings of others, the pain and suffering or the mistakes that they've been through, or even the nice things that they've been through. And then we can study that and say, okay, if that happened to him or that happened to her, and this is the condition of their life at that point, then maybe I can see where I am at this point and where I'm going to be in the future and what my issues might be. So usually, whether we are on the spiritual path or not, there are three kinds of main issues which everyone has: health, wealth, and relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships. And these issues keep coming back over and over again. Yes or no? So in terms of awareness, we can see it as two ways. One is to be aware of the issues, the general broad brush strokes of the issues which can be there in everyone's life, which we can refer through books and by consulting and counseling from other people. Or, this also, by the way, these kind of soulful sessions and chats is when we gather together as a group where we get the idea of what we're going to talk about when we start talking to so many other people. As healers, as pranic healers ourselves, we are chatting with people with different kinds of talks. So a couple of weeks ago, there were 3 or 4 people who mentioned a certain issue. And then as Hengame and I, we would sit and chat like, what problem is there in the world that, or in the pranic healing world or in our community that we can help? And I say, you know what? Some people seem to be going through the same kind of problem over and over again. And it's not just their behavior, but the behavior of someone in their space. So, okay, let's figure out how we can break unwanted negative patterns. So the very fact that you've showed up, the very fact that you're here is also an idea that your soul is sending you that kind of energy for you to be able to lift yourself out of that system. But that's a passive, slow kind of process. Actively, what can you do? Actively, the importance of awareness comes in when you sit down and have a reflection. So there will be some practical parts to this later, but I'd like to take this part and go a little deeper. And I'd like for you to make your aura receptive to any shortcomings that you yourself may have had. Because see, like energies attract, correct? Yes or no? We learned this in the basic workshop, like energies attract. So what energy am I carrying in my own system? What energy am I holding in my own aura that is causing this kind of problem to come to me over and over again? Right? If like energies attract, and if we are united by the law of karma, is it possible? Is there even a 1% chance that I might have done something without knowing, which has hurt and influenced people in a negative manner? And now all these issues which I'm going through, health, wealth, relationships, etc., could be a reflection of that. Now, there would be some aware people who would say, yes, it's a possibility. And there'd be some people who would say, no, 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 that's impossible. I don't make mistakes. I am God's gift to mankind. I'm here. Hello. Okay, well, not all of us are Loki or any actor who plays that role. So let's take a few seconds, take a deep breath, and be aware of your entire body. Just be aware of your body. Be aware of any aches and pains, which is what we did when Hengame started the invocation. And then you bring your awareness to your thoughts. Now, I would like you to focus on that. Have you said something to someone, could be a family member, could be a colleague, could be a friend, anybody, in the last 7 days, have you said something to someone which could have made them feel a little upset, a little unhappy? If you remember that exact event, great. Keep that thought aside. Were you injurious in your thoughts? Did you have a criticizing thoughts? Were you injurious in your words? And I hope not, I really hope that you are not injurious in your actions, that you say, I don't like you. I hope you didn't do that. If you did, well, okay, separate part. But if you were critical in your thoughts and your words in the last 7 days, just take a deep breath. To the Supreme God, to my spiritual teacher, Master Choa Kok Sui, to Lord Mahaguruji Meling, I invoke for your blessings of divine light, for awareness, for love and wisdom, to my higher soul, to my guardian angels and spirit guides, to the invisible helpers. I invoke for your divine help, divine guidance, and divine protection, for becoming aware of any energies within my system which is attracting this negativity to me. I invoke for making me aware, your blessings, for making me aware of any shortcomings that I may have had, that I may remove them, that I may extract them from my system and become a better person and a better soul. Lord God, thank you for your blessings, for your guidance, for your awareness. Now close your eyes and take a deep breath. And mentally say to yourself, I'm a good person. Smile at yourself. I am a good person, and I'm trying to become a better person and a better soul. So Lord God, even though I may have had shortcomings, please bless me that I can become better. And I also recognize the goodness that is in me, that I help people, that I heal people, that I make people laugh, or I make people food, or I do helpful things in many, many ways. Lord God, thank you for helping me develop healthy self-esteem and also the awareness that I can become better. Now take a deep breath, inhale, and exhale. Just release any sense of frustration, any sense of irritation, just let that out. Inhale once more, inhale the blessing, and exhale out any stress and tension from your system. We will, in the next moment or so, we'll be moving forward on how to identify the lessons. Gently open your eyes with a smile and let us know how you're feeling. And while you are letting us know, remember, awareness of yourself starts when you acknowledge the good and the bad. Because we are very, very, very aware of other people's shortcomings. It's very easy for us to point out the mistakes of other people. We are very, very ajna with other people's problems. And we're very hard with our own. If someone makes a mistake, it's because they're like that. But if I make a mistake, it's because I was having a bad day. This is when we reverse, when we start being hard with others and a little bit of ajna with ourselves. So if you're feeling calmer, you're feeling relieved, light and happy, that's very good. We are now going to start the process of deeper study. Hengame, this is over to you.
Thank you so much, Arko. And I just wanted to add to this that sometimes we might not yet learn how to be super aware. That is why when you go to spiritual practices, one of the suggestions of Master Choa Kok Sui is to have 2 spiritual bodies with you, 2 spiritual friends. And the idea is these 2 friends supposed to tell you whatever black and white, like whatever bluntly. And they should not sugarcoat, or because with our close friends, if you ask them, like, do I have these mistakes, or what do I do wrong, they usually only see the good. And so they only say, no, you are fine, everything is good, it's other people's problem, which sometimes we do also to ourselves. But the idea is these two spiritual friends promise to tell you everything bluntly, because sometimes we cannot see it ourselves if we still have not really developed a super sharp awareness. And meditation, beyond meditation and inner reflection, all these practices help us to increase our awareness. But unless we have a super sharp awareness, we may not really see everything clearly. So one idea is to have two spiritual friends, and we promise each other to, if we see any mistakes, to let each other know. And another thing is to use some people who don't really like us. The idea is people who don't like you, even if they find a small mistake in you, they magnify it and tell it on your face. Yes, it's hurtful, but once you calm down, then you need to go deeper, try to penetrate deeper and see why this person told me this. Is there something behind? Do I behave in such a way that the person talked to me this way, or that this person pointed out? They magnify it, they exaggerate it, yes, but at least they are the ones who really tell us on the face because they don't like us. So even they find small mistake in you, they make it big and tell it to your face. So yes, it's hurtful, so we can just clean our solar plexus, activate the heart, and then sit and think what this person really said. Do I need to change anything in me? So those two can also help us to be more aware of what's happening in our life if we have not yet developed a super sharp awareness. Okay, so next, how can we stop these patterns? There are a few things we can do. Number one is to learn the lesson, okay? So as we said, when karma is happening, the idea is evolutionary. The idea is for us to learn a lesson, okay? And we can change it. Like if a person gets drunk all the time, the person cannot say, my karma is to be drunk all the time. It doesn't work that way. The person can sit and think, why do I get drunk? And then identify the issues, identify the lessons, and make changes. For example, the person may say, one reason is I have these friends who encourage me to drink, and another thing is I pass by the liquor shops and I cannot control myself, for example. So the lesson to learn is to increase my willpower, to stop being friends with people who don't really help me or care. Or, can you mute yourself, please? Yeah, thank you. And so where were we? So to learn the lesson, why this happens to me and what can I do? So that is number one, technique number one. And technique number two is to use certain laws like the law of mercy and the law of forgiveness to actually neutralize. So first we will focus on identifying the lessons and learning the lessons, and then we will focus on using the law of mercy and using the law of forgiveness to neutralize the karma. So as Master Chuakoksui says, negative karma can be neutralized by learning the lesson that has to be learned, by using the law of forgiveness and by using the law of mercy. Now, each person is the best person, is the best, is the best person to know what is the lesson to learn. So we cannot tell you exactly what lesson you need to learn because you are the best judge. You know your thoughts, you know your emotions, you know your actions, you know everything about yourself. So if you have awareness and if you are honest with yourself, you are the best person to identify and realize. But what we can help you with is to identify at least which category the lesson is connected with. Again, we are so lucky that we have learned the 5 virtues from Master Chua Kok Sui. And if you really think about it, the lessons are connected with these 5 virtues, which are connected with developing light, love, and power, which we're supposed to do in every lifetime. So knowing these virtues, we know what needs to be done and what we should not do. And based on the result of what we are experiencing, we can roughly know which virtue it is connected with. For example, if we keep having health issues, one of the lessons needs to be learned is loving kindness and non-injury, because health issue is hurtful, is painful, is injury to the body. Could be physical health problem, could be even emotional health problems. Whatever it is connected with loving kindness. If we have financial problem, then we know the lesson to learn is generosity. So by actually focusing on these virtues and identifying the category, at least we can recognize and identify what we need to learn, what virtue we need to focus on, what we need to practice. And this is what we are going to do now before talking about the love, mercy, and compassion, starting with the first virtue, loving kindness and non-injury. I'll come back to you.
Let's just go to the quotation on the screen. Thank you, Hingame. According to Master Chua Kok Sui, like quality energy attracts like quality energy. Loving kindness will attract loving kindness. Anger and hatred will attract anger and hatred. We'll come to the second part of the quotation a little later on. And the practice that we did is that if we become aware of what's in our system that's causing this injury to come back to us. Now I'm going to go into a little bit of a case study. And sorry, this time it'll be a little heavy. It might be a little serious. So usually I'll be joking, but this time I was talking to someone in the last couple of weeks, not someone, actually 4 or 5 different people. And the common story was they have a very difficult and strained relationship with their parents. Now, parents, they have given us life. We are on this earth. We owe our existence to them. Parents are supposed to unconditionally love their children. That's right. And we as children are supposed to go to our parents for love, for affection, for protection. And here we were dealing with people whose parents had taken advantage of them. How? Some had been abused. I will not go into details of that, but whatever you imagine, that's exactly what it is. Some parents stole money from their children. The children had some sort of inheritance from other people, from other trusts and other sources. The parents siphoned off money, or they emotionally blackmailed their children to take that money. And when you read about it, or when you hear about it, it's very upsetting, very off-putting. How could this happen? How could something like this take place? Well, the law of karma here comes into play because according to certain relationships, there's a story of, in the Philippines many years ago, of this Filipino couple who had 2 children who were differently abled. They were mentally and physically differently abled. Hengame, you know this story. You remember this story from the old days, that the parents, they were not sure. They were very nice, very sweet, very gentle, but the children were just complete vegetables. I'm sorry for using that term, but that's exactly what they were. So they went to a clairvoyant, a very developed clairvoyant, and the clairvoyant said, in a past life, your parents, your children were your jailers, and you two were prisoners. So what the jailers did was they would be torturing the prisoners who were the present life husband and wife. And one day the prisoners, they got completely fed up. They took revenge and they tortured and killed the jailers. Tortured and killed them. And how bizarre the law of karma, it comes out in the next whatever incarnation, is that the 2 prisoners became the parents and the 2 jailers, they became the children. The children had no mental or physical faculties. They could not eat on their own. They could not clean up on their own. They couldn't do anything on their own. They had to be fed, clothed, cleaned, everything. And this young couple, they were constantly taking care of the kids and wondering what's going on, how's this going on. So the law of karma says, all right, you have inflicted injury on one another. Therefore, get into a situation where you learn how to work out your injury. As parents, you're supposed to be unconditionally loving your kids. But because of so much hatred in the past, now you're in a situation where you will have to take care of those who you hate. So take a moment. If there is that one person or two persons in your life whose behavior really upsets you, were you the jailer or were you the prisoner in the past life? Now, it's a good thing we don't remember our past lives, because if we knew all the stuff we've been up to, we would be in a comatose situation wondering, oh my God, what am I doing? Good thing I found spirituality. So now we come to the second part of the quote. Project and radiate loving kindness. Be still. Bathe in the waters of love and bliss. So if you're going through this repeated negative pattern of someone in your family being heavy, being nasty, being mean, well, you might not be violent in this life, but you could have had that in a past life, and that energy has carried forward. So you need to forgive. You need to project and radiate loving kindness. Okay, and it's like you genuinely feel that loving kindness inside of you. Okay, not that I am blessing you, you better feel blessed. You better be healed, otherwise I'll see you in the next life. Not that kind of energy. Although some of you are probably getting a little triggered by now. If you are, well, you know you're on the right track because you got to work it out. You think of that one person and say, that person, I must have been. Anyway, we don't get into histrionics or dramatics right now. If you've got crap going on in your life with respect to your relationships in your family, you don't know what you've been through in the past, what you've up to in the past. So project and radiate loving kindness, be still, bathe in the waters of love and bliss. This is the spiritual water we're talking about. We don't mean that you go and take a shower, although that probably helps. We will be working on this later on. So first pattern, identify what you might have been up to in the past. If you don't know what you've been up to in the past, know that like quality attracts, and bathe yourself by radiating loving kindness. We'll then talk about the next one, which Hengam will say.
Thank you so much. What what you were just sharing reminded me of a story of my own self. At some point, I had very difficult relationship with a colleague, and whatever she was doing, it was hurting me so much. Even if I was trying to be nice and help, the person would take it the other way and really, say something or do something that hurt me. So I don't do this really often, but at that time I was so like impatient that I sat for meditation. I wanted to actually see why this is happening. What was our relationship in the past life? Again, I don't do this often, but that time I was really desperate. So I sat for meditation and I asked this question. I did 2 hours. After that, I was reflecting and I saw a scene. I saw an image from one of the past lives that we were together, we were children, and I was the one hurting her. And there was like lots of things happening. But after that, I realized nothing happened without a reason. Sometimes we just don't know the reason. As Master Charkooks put it, sometimes we just don't know because we might not know exactly what happened in the previous life. And we don't need to actually dig and see what happened in the previous life. From the results of what we are experiencing at the moment, we can roughly know what seed was created before. So what I started to do was to start to do forgiveness with this person. And as here Master has put, project and radiate loving kindness like almost every day. And at some point, the relationship was okay. And once the relationship was okay, we didn't have to work so closely with each other anymore also. It's like somehow we were chained together, and by projecting loving kindness, by forgiving the person, the chain got broken and we were like in a much better state. So yes, loving kindness connected with injury of any sort. Sometimes we think if we are experiencing physical pain, we must have done something physically, but it's not like that. the category is loving kindness and non-injury, but it works physically, emotionally, mentally. So sometimes we may be criticizing someone or a group of people repeatedly, and the result come back as ailment or disease, physical disease. It doesn't mean that we only have to hurt others physically to reap the result as physical ailment. Sometimes even if you criticize people, that is also injury, can come back as a disease. So thank you so much. It reminded me, I thought it's worth sharing. Next, generosity and non-stealing. Okay, let's read the quote first. If you tithe, you must also be willing to receive the divine blessing of prosperity. If you will not receive it, your capacity to give will be adversely affected. That goes against the law of karma. Okay, now generosity and non-stealing. Many times people come and complain about financial issues, and knowing them, when we look at it, we know that it's connected with generosity. Now, I will share one example. And there was this person, she was doing healing with our center, with Prana World. And initially we were giving the person healing. And then eventually we noticed that this person took all those patients that we gave, and because they're supposed to give a tithing or a percentage back to the center as a way of like, how to say, not profit, profit sharing kind of thing. Because the center also need money for expenses with rental and everything, to have a place for people to come and meditate. And we do lots of promotion, we gather, we attract clients, we attract people who need healing patients. And then of course we give to the healers also benefit, take the majority of percentage, but they also need to give something back to the center. Okay, so that was what we agreed upon with everybody. So this person was, after some time, was taking the patient without telling the center, and then doing healing in her place or sometimes distantly, and not giving anything back to the center. Okay, so you see, when you really think about it, it's stealing, because you get the client in the first place from the center, you do, let's say, one session, you give the percentage of that one session to the center, and then you tell the person, okay, the rest I'm going to do in my house, or I'm going to do this, and you pay me. And then nothing goes back to the center. Anyway, we didn't tell anything to this person, but after some time, because we wanted to be like nice and forgiving, and said, okay, whatever, if the person really needs it, it's okay. After some time, this person came to the center and was talking to me and one of my colleagues and complaining about financial problem. And she said her finances just went down, down, down. And when I was really reflecting on it, I thought, okay, sometimes we think we are smart. We think we can just make use of that even little percentage that we have to pay either to the Pranic Healing Center or to whatever organization. So we take it for ourselves. We think we are getting the benefit, but the negative karma comes back as financial problem. The law of karma is exact. Okay, so we need to give whatever belongs to others, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just doing copying in the office. Sometimes it's taking, I don't know, pen and paper from the office. And I remember hearing this from one of the pranic healers who own a hotel, that a lot of expense that they occur to them is because of the blankets and whatever things in the hotel that people take, which they are not supposed to take. So you see, whatever doesn't belong to us, physically, emotionally, mentally, we have to be careful, because sometimes we think we are smart and we think we are, how to say, bypassing the law of karma, but the law of karma is exact. It comes back to us. So generosity and non-stealing. Sometimes it's emotional stealing. For example, there are two friends, a third one goes and take one for themselves. This is also stealing. Time, something that so many people steal without even thinking about it. Time is also wasting time of a group of people or someone is also stealing. So if You already set an appointment, please try to be on time. Mentally, using pirated materials is also stealing because there is a person or a group of people or an organization who have put a lot of effort creating those materials. So at least we need to take permission or we need to give proper recognition. We cannot just take it for ourselves. So sometimes we do all of these, but we might not be aware that we are doing. So if you are facing any problem with finances or not having enough of, I don't know, material possessions or affection or whatever, please try to be super honest with yourself. Try to dig deep and see what we need to do. Are we generous? And we need to make sure that we don't steal. So that is about generosity and non-stealing. And if someone masters the virtue of generosity or practice it to a high degree, that person will have super high amount of abundance because as we give, we receive. Going to the next one, honesty. Arko, can you explain for us? Thank you.
You know, when you were talking about the stealing of time, I got reminded of this incident which happened. You and I, we were chatting about this some time back. After watching one of our sessions, and this flows into honesty, after watching one of our sessions, a guy contacted us on our website and said that he's having issues with communication and the people in his office are taking advantage of his goodness, taking advantage of his behavior. But he's been practicing spirituality for some time, and therefore, by the grace of his teacher and the great ones, he's okay. But he really wants a solution for fixing relationships because people are just, they don't deal with him nicely. So I got in touch with him. I texted him on WhatsApp saying, hey, I'm from Prana World and I'd like to, we'll have a discovery meeting and we can see how we can help you out. The guy responds, Atma Namaste, and then goes quiet. So I'm looking at my phone wondering, okay. So after some time, I text him again saying, how can we help you? A reply comes, talk to you later. Like, okay, I'm beginning to think that the issues in your life are not because other people are taking advantage of you. It might be something a little deeper within. If you're watching this session, well, consider this to be honesty on my part. He did get in touch after some time. And I said, okay, you know what? I have this time and that time. I have a 5 o'clock and a 7 o'clock time slot. You can get in touch at this time. He missed the appointment completely. I texted him 15 minutes before the meeting saying, I'm ready for you. 5 minutes and I'm here. At 7:30, I said, hey, you know what? I waited for you, but you're not here. So we'll connect at some other time. And he said, I'll call you tomorrow. That tomorrow hasn't come yet. It's a James Bond movie by now. Tomorrow never dies. So if you're stealing time, if you're stealing someone else's time, your relationships will also hurt and bite you because your time will be wasted. And here I'm being honest. And although Master Chokuksui says honesty must be balanced with non-injury and loving kindness, you should practice honesty most of the time. And this is what I want to bring to your attention here, is that me here calling out someone's behavior, which I see was not cool. You don't waste someone's time just like that, right? And you've reached out for help. Most of the time, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to ask, am I genuinely reaching out for someone's help, or do I just want to hear things? There are people, and you probably know these people yourselves, where they say, hey, can you scan option A, B, C, X, Y, Z for me? And you scan something and say, no, that's not correct. Please scan again. So they'll make you scan and rescan until they're happy with the answer, what they were looking for. Okay. And everyone is scanning and saying, okay, don't do this. But they are going to do that because that's what they've set their mind to. So you have to be honest with yourself. Self-honesty results in rapid spiritual development and humility. When you are using honesty as a tool to hurt other people, that's when it becomes problematic. But when you use honesty to genuinely give feedback, to genuinely help people out, that, okay, I understand that this is what you've done. You are the third party in a relationship. Do you think it's the right thing to do? Yes, I understand that you've been deprived of love and human connection for 75 years, and now you've come back to life and you feel like you're ready to start blooming again. But why don't you look at some other people who are probably not in a relationship with anyone else? That's a kind way of saying, dude, you're cheating, back off. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And if you followed our previous sessions on love languages or transactional analysis, where you're either a parent or an adult or a child and you're having cross transactions kind of things, then you'll know that how you communicate is sometimes much more important than what you communicate. If I say, I will always look out for you, and if I say, I will always look out for you, the message gets completely changed. So balance what you say. Have an awareness of yourself that, oh, I was being honest, I was just giving feedback. No, you were being hurtful. Sometimes, sometimes people take a great deal of emphasis on providing brutal honesty. They're more emphasis on being brutal than on being honest. And if you're going through tough times in your life, you might just be brutalizing a lot of people. It goes back to loving kindness in thoughts and words. But honesty must be balanced with non-injury and loving kindness. You should practice honesty most of the time. If you have issues in your life where people are constantly saying hurtful things to you, mean things to you, pay attention to what mean things you might be saying. And here, I'm going to talk about a negative pattern. We're close on time, but I'll say it. There's a person whose parents um, were always like, if you remember our last session, oh, you've fallen down and gotten hurt. Why are you so careless? Why can't you take more care of yourself? They won't even ask whether you are okay. So this person, as they've grown up, now if anyone comes to them with a problem, their first response is also accusatory, hard, cutting to the point. Their intention is golden. Their intention is very sweet, very concerned, but their delivery is very cut. And now they're going through some issues where people are also being very short with them, very to the point with them. So they might have been using honesty in an injurious way. So touch your heart before you're about to say anything and be sweet and gentle. Yeah. From there, we'll go on to the next one where I will be taking a step back and over to Hengame.
Thank you so much. So we talked about awareness in the beginning. If you want to improve your awareness and see things clearly, honesty is a virtue to actually work on, besides the patterns that Orko discussed. Now, next one, constancy of aim and effort. Now, sometimes you, for example, ask for or pay for service of a certain person or an organization, and then what comes back to you is not what you expect. The quality is much, much lower than that. Or sometimes whatever you want to do or people need to do for you gets procrastinated. So things like that may be happening as a pattern. And the lesson here that we need to learn is constancy of aim and effort. Means if we are responsible or if we promise something, we have to do it, and we have to do it on time. And we need to be responsible for whatever commitments that we have or promises that we give. So Master Chokuksui says to have constancy, you must have one-pointedness. You must keep your commitments. You must be reliable and trustworthy. You must stand by your word. Be one-pointed. Power comes from voluntary inner restriction or one-pointedness in purpose and effort. Sometimes in the spiritual path, some people tend to become a bit wishy-washy and not really, being responsible or reliable anymore. Sometimes they just say, oh, sorry, I didn't feel like doing it, or I was just meditating, or I forgot about it. And if the person gets upset, they say, oh, we are in the spiritual path. Why are you upset? You have to forgive and forget. Yes, forgive and forget is important, but we must not forget that we were responsible for that. And we didn't deliver what we promised, which we have to do. So that is connected with constancy of aim and effort, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And if we actually practice the virtue of constancy of aim and effort, then we are destined to be successful, because laziness is the only thing that make us fail. Otherwise, if you are in business or in our career or whatever, any problem that happen, if we have constancy, if we have commitment, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we will find a way. So therefore, it's very important that whatever promise we give, we deliver. And we have to be trustworthy, reliable, and responsible. For example, sometimes there are healers that they take so many healings, quite a good amount of money for each healing. And the patient thinks that they are getting one-to-one complete healing, let's say 30 minutes or 1 hour. And this person gathers everyone and just do a divine healing or a mass healing, like just do a mass healing on everybody. This is not what was promised. Okay, so if you get healing one-to-one, even if it's like when it's distant, we need to be even more careful. And we promise to do something, we have to do it exactly like we promised, not just gather everyone and do a mass healing. I have heard about it, that's why sharing. Okay, so that is something that we need to take care of, because otherwise we may receive services or products or whatever from other people, from organizations or businesses that it's not up to the expectation. Okay, so that is one of the things that may happen. Or our staff may be lazy and not doing the work properly and things like that. So all of that is connected with constancy of aim and effort. I just saw a question in the chat. We are going to later do a practical session. Then we will also discuss about the question. So last one, moderation and non-excessiveness. Back to Arko.
Moderation. According to Master Choa Sui, thank you, Hangame. According to Master Choa Sui, moderation requires discernment. It varies from person to person. What is moderate for one may not be moderate for another. One healer may be able to do 5 healings in a day. Another healer may be able to do 500 because they're doing mass healings. And they can say, oh, I'm being moderate about it. But if they're not honest about it, as Hengame gave in the previous example, there will be other issues in life. Now, the second part of this particular quote, according to Master Choa Sui, is that what is to be avoided is excessive work and excessive fun. Now, when you are a child, when you are 5, 6 years old, it's normal for you to be sleeping 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day. But can you say the same when you're in your 30s? It'd be a luxury to sleep 8 or 10 hours a day at a stretch. So what's moderate for an infant is not moderate for a grown-up with responsibilities. Now, if you take that analogy and stretch it, play with it a little bit more, what is moderate for a spiritual infant is not moderate for a spiritual adult. We're not talking necessarily of physical age or of emotional quotient or EQ or IQ or any other such complicated words. See, according to the teacher, sometimes some very old souls, some very mature souls can have taken birth and it would be an old soul in a young body. Conversely, there are a lot of people who are young souls who are not yet mature souls, but they are older. So the communication between them, their points of view would frequently be clashing. They would not be matching. They would have to find a moderate balance, a middle path. Now, here is where knowledge of the 7 rays comes in. Here's where spiritual business management comes in, and knowing the cycles and everything else comes in. But what doesn't change is the fact is that when you're dealing with someone, when you're talking with someone, whether it's for your health or for your relationships, it doesn't hurt to be nice. In the days of the internet, there was a phrase that kept being used called BNBR. BN, be nice, BR, be respectful. All too often, there are so many people who go up on the healing groups and online and they start criticizing. Sharp, sharp words, hard. punctureful, painful words. There's one person, and I don't know if they have this awareness, they're constantly criticizing a particular spiritual institution. And I was very curious. I was following this person's online, and I found that they run a business, and that business has been doing very poorly. Reviews are not good. They got cheated out of money. And I'm like, huh, you don't notice you're injuring other people in your words all the time. And now you're wondering why your business, and you're not even wondering why your business is doing well. The person just thinks that other people are out there to cheat him. He's the only good person. So as you distort the perception of other people, your own perception will be distorted. Since when has anger been a sign of a spiritual person? So when you are going through any situation in life, pause, hit the brakes, rewind a little bit, use your discernment. This person behaved a certain way. Why? Is it their nature to behave that way? Have they been trained to behave that way? Do they behave that way because they're afraid? Sometimes people will have very extreme reactions because they're scared. You have people who behave very overprotective or over anxious because they're scared of a certain thing. So you have to be moderate, and what's moderate for you won't be moderate for someone else. And if you have been pushing that standard of yours onto other people, if you think that just because you can work for 20 hours, other people should be able to work for at least 19 hours, that's not correct on your part. And likewise, if you're working under a boss or in a situation where you are being expected to sacrifice your weekends, sacrifice your holidays, sacrifice, then you can also consider asking, what have I done that has required other people to sacrifice so much for me? Much of this is based on inner reflection. Sure, there are energetic techniques where someone is just a pain in the basic chakra. Someone can just be a pain somewhere else. Okay? But sometimes, since like energies attract, might as well use this energy to find out what's within us to clear it out. And from there, we will go on to just identifying the pattern, the lesson it's connected to, onto the practicals, and we'll be headed towards the closure of the session in some time. So then I'll move off from moderation, ask Hengame, would you take over for this?
Thank you so much, Orko. So now we are going to do a practical session to actually try to identify one of the patterns that is happening in our life. And then we will try together to identify the pattern and the category which is connected with, and then trying to understand what to do and what not to do. We will also say an invocation so that it gives us more clarity and divine guidance. Now, before that, I just want to share one story. I heard this from one of the masters happening many years ago in the Philippines. It seems there was this person who was a taxi driver. So not initially was working for other people as a taxi driver. And then gradually he gathered some amount of money and bought a taxi for himself and started to do this work. And eventually he gathered more and more money and savings and bought a few more taxis, and he was renting these taxis to other people to do this job. But the rate that he was renting the taxi to others was quite high. So the other people who rented the taxi from him had difficulty paying back, and they were like becoming more and more in debt. After some time, this person developed asthma and was like feeling very difficult to breathe. So if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the story correctly, he went to the center in the Philippines and asked for some guidance and so on. And then what he received was to try to think what is happening in your life, try to reflect and so on. So he started to think, why did I develop asthma? Because he didn't have this issue before. And then through inner guidance and intuition and so on, he identified and he realized that the rate that he has put for the taxis has been so high, and therefore it's like he's creating difficulty for other people. It's like the other taxi drivers can't breathe. It's like they are suffocating because They are trapped in that pattern of doing the work and paying everything back to this person, and they cannot even tally. So their life is so difficult, like suffocating. And then he shared that with the center, if I'm not mistaken. And then he got this idea that, okay, let's just forgive and forget about whatever debt that the taxi drivers has to me, and let's just call it even and reduce the fare so that it's like more reasonable and more fair. And when he did that, it seems within some time the asthma just healed by itself. So you see, this is an example of thinking about the challenge or the problem that we are facing, and then trying to identify why this is happening. What category is it connected with? Is it loving kindness and non-injury? Is it generosity and non-stealing? Is it honesty and non-lying, and so on? And then try to put it on paper and identify what needs to be done and what we should not do. So it's basically making use of the golden rule. The golden rule says, do to others what you want others to do to you, and do not do to others the things you do not want others to do unto you. The golden rule is a practical application of the law of karma. You must give what you need in order to receive. Now let's do it together for a few minutes. Please take a piece of paper, or if you have your phone beside you, you can just write down, or you can just be aware of one of the challenges, one of the patterns that keep repeating in your life. It could be health issues, it could be financial issues, it could be one person put in the chat that material possession is there, but the person is not being able to enjoy them. Could be relationship issue, one issue that you are dealing with repeatedly. Sometimes you may be attracting the wrong partner and always end up in a breakup. So try to write what is the pattern first, because again, not having awareness of what's happening in our life, change is impossible. So please be aware of that pattern, and then start to think, what category is it connected with? For example, with the question in the chat, so the person has material possession, so means probably generosity is there materially, but the person is not being able to enjoy them. So again, this might be connected to different categories. We need to really dig deep and see where it's connected with. But one of the pattern could be love and kindness. So means you need to be more loving, you need to share more love with other people, you need to make other people happy, so happiness come back to you. See, everything works in its own category. Being nice is not a prerequisite to be prosperous. Giving money is a prerequisite to be prosperous. If you want to be happy, you need to make other people happy. You should not injure other people, especially emotionally. So you see, every pattern, we need to be very careful and try to understand. Now, another person put misunderstanding in relationship. Okay, now think about it. I'm just giving examples. Yeah, you need to really try to align it with your life. Now, misunderstanding in relationship, one of the lesson to learn could be honesty. Okay, because when you don't practice honesty to a high degree, sometimes we may not be clear, our awareness may go down, and sometimes we may not really be aware of what the other person needs, what are the other person's needs and wants, and therefore it will end up in misunderstanding. Okay, another thing could be also loving kindness and non-injury. So sometimes we may injure others emotionally, mentally, and it comes back as friction and misunderstanding. Health issue, most of the time, is loving kindness and non-injury. Injury of any sort. Sometimes we are super nice physically. We also don't say things that hurt others verbally, but we may be doing kung fu mental kung fu in our head by over criticizing the person. So when we talk about each of these virtues, we are talking about different levels. physically, emotionally, mentally, and all of them we need to put into consideration. Not getting job, so that could be connected with generosity and non-stealing, because when you have a job, then you have a good amount of salary, and so you have more prosperity and abundance. So one of the things could be more generous, do more tithing, donation service. If you have a certain skill that could help other people to improve in their lives, you can do that. You can bless others, yes. So there are so many things we can do. Finances is most of the time generosity and non-stealing. Yeah, health is most of the time loving kindness and non-injury. Relationships most of the time loving kindness and non-injury. So you see, but some of these could be related to one or two of these virtues. So that's why we say in your situation, you need to try to look at it from different perspectives, be brutally honest with yourself and see what you need to do. Okay, what else? Laziness, constancy of aim and effort we need to practice. Low on energy all the time. Low on energy all the time. Could be moderation, non-excessiveness, because we said it's both ways, doing too much or doing not enough. So it's probably you may need to do certain activities, certain techniques, or take certain food that you take care of your body, or some certain things like that. Okay, anger and emotions, usually loving kindness, not able to attract the life partner. Okay, that also could be loving kindness, could be generosity. Sometimes I'm just giving idea. Yeah, don't think that what I say is exactly what you need to practice. I'm just giving examples. Sometimes, and it might not be exactly connected or related to you. For example, sometimes we feel envy when we see other people have fantastic relationships. Enviousness is also against generosity. So if we feel enviousness, that would affect the people who have the things that we are envy about. So that is something that we need to eradicate by, again, blessing, sharing love. Sometimes it's just loving kindness. We need to be more loving so that we can attract more good people in our lives. Okay, got cheated. Okay, got cheated could be honesty and non-lying, because if you practice honesty to a high degree, then your mind becomes super sharp. You are able to know if a person is cheating or not. Could be generosity and non-stealing, so that things were taken away from you. Sometimes generosity and non-stealing also refers to the things that we waste. So if we have certain blessings, if we have certain possessions and materials and blessings that we take for granted, those would be taken away from us also. What else? Could be constancy of aim and effort. If we are not responsible to deliver what we promise, sometimes we get cheated and we don't receive what we were promised to receive. Okay, so I think we answered a few of these. So you see, whatever the issue is, you need to actually be super honest with yourself. Sometimes I say brutally honest because at least we have to be honest with ourselves. And that is the way to change. And then try to go deep and say, okay, what this could be connected with. And everything has a reason. Don't think that this is happening to me without any reason. I'm this good person that has not done anything. If something is happening to us, means some seeds has been planted, whether in this life or previous lifetimes. You see, evolution requires time, process, and mistakes. We have all done a lot of mistakes in the previous incarnations, and that's how we have learned from them. And that's how we will learn in the future. So don't also make a big fuss and focus too much attention on this time you say, oh, I'm such a bad person and that is happening to me and so on. Don't think about it that way as well. Please be moderate, middle path. Think about it. Evolution requires mistake, and therefore, I have done mistakes, yes, but I need to learn from them and then focus on what needs to be done. Okay. So that is practical session to learn the lesson, but we are lucky that there is one more way to actually neutralize and reduce the negative effect of even the mistakes we have done before. And that is through practicing the law of mercy and the law of forgiveness. And I would ask Argo to guide us through that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Engame, especially for the amazing identifying and pattern correlation and connection. And when we see, I invite all the people who are in this session to look at the notes, look at the chats that have come here. Do you see how many of them have the same kinds of issues, whether it's procrastination or money related issues or health or other things? So you, me, us, all of us, we are in this situation kind of on our own, in the same situation. We're all in the same boat trying to get better. And for all of those who are going through a prosperity kind of situation, from our side, from Hengame and my side, from on behalf of Prana World, we invite you for a mass prosperity healing for free. Now, it's a paid event where people show up over and over, they get healings, they sit down together, we do the meditation, and our healers do the healing for your prosperity. But seeing the number of people who've got this same problem, job or prosperity or whatever, we invite you sometime in March to please join in. And if you can share your email ID here, maybe you share it here in the chat, I'll take it from the chat later on. We invite you for joining in for mass prosperity healing as a gift from our side to you, to help you in your journey forward, both spiritually and materially. That's one thing we can give. On the second part, there are patterns which can be broken through the law of karma. So here we rewind back to the first slide where we spoke about it, where Master Chua said that you have to bathe in the waters of stillness, the water of generosity. So I'll take these email IDs from the chat. And while everyone's busy typing it down, I'll invoke to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, to my spiritual teacher, Master Chua Kuk, thank you. To Lord Mahaguruji Mailing, thank you for your priceless blessings of light, love, and power, healing, guidance, and protection. Master Chua, Lord Mahaguruji Mailing, I am grateful to you immensely. I am indebted to you for your guidance. Without you, we would not be here. So now I ask everyone to be still, to sit still, to sit comfortably, keep your back straight. Remember, what comes out of your mouth is more important than what goes in. According to Master Chua Kuk Sui, words are like bullets. They are loaded with emotional gunpowder. Think twice before you open your mouth, because words are like bullets. They're loaded with emotional gunpowder. So you may have put an emotional gunpowder to somebody at some point. Take a deep breath. Raise your hand in a blessing position and say, with the help and blessings of God, with the help and blessings of my spiritual teacher, with the help and blessings of my higher soul, may every person, every being in my life, my parents, my siblings, my children, if you have any, my extended family members, all my grandparents, all my cousins, everyone in my life, the area I live in, all my friends, all my colleagues, those who I report to, those who report to me, those whom I love, and those whom I no longer love. May the blessings of love from God, passing through my teacher, passing through my higher soul, passing through me, may it radiate towards every person, every being in my life. Take a deep breath, hold that blessing in yourself for a moment or two. Be aware of your hearts, be aware of your hands, and bless. Feel that inner stillness, and may every person, every being in your life be blessed with inner stillness, with happiness, with loving kindness in thoughts, in words, and in actions. May every person, every being be blessed with generosity and non stealing, with honesty and non lying. May they all be blessed with constancy and one pointedness of aim and effort. And may they be blessed with moderation and non excessiveness. Of every person, every being that you are blessing, the one person who is most important is yourself. Include yourself in your blessings. Bless yourself with good health, with prosperity, with abundance and spirituality. Bless yourself with amazing relationships, with a great partner. And if you have a partner, bless them with even more love. If you have multiple partners, you naughty person, you. Blessings be to all. Blessings be, harmony be to all. Now, think of one person who has made life difficult for you, with whom you may need to have an unpleasant conversation or a difficult interaction. Visualize that person. Bless them with love. Imagine their back heart. Bless them with love. Fill their entire being up with love. Imagine that they are communicating with you happily, properly, sweetly, and gently. Imagine that your interaction is smooth, it is pleasant, it is harmonious. The interaction has happened smoothly. Shake hands with them, give them a hug, say namaste, and cut the cord. Thank you for joining in. We hope you've benefited from this session. We hope you've identified some of the pointers in your own life which are making things difficult, and going forward, life will be better. On behalf of Prana World, thank you for being here. Hengame?
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. So always remember that learning lesson is one thing, but using the love, mercy, and compassion and forgiveness is another thing. If you are too exact with other people's mistakes, life will be too exact with ours. If we are fast to forgive and bless the person, universe will be a bit gentler with us also. So thank you so much for joining and hope to see you next week.
See you next week.
Namaste.
Take care.
Thank you, our calls.
Email you. Thank you, Hengame. Lots of love to everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.